Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we're joined by Tiago Gahisi, who is Director of Engineering at Nubank. This is the second time Tiago's been on the podcast, believe it or not. And we're also joined by Frank DeLeo, who's a recruitment consultant at Venturi, and also Gabrielle Harrison, who's also a recruitment consultant at Venturi. This podcast was recorded in Tiago's office in New York a few weeks ago. Enjoy the show. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because if you think about being a world-class performer, like I would say you're a thought leader, essentially, a tech titan, as I like to call. That's one thing, is like communicating with people, meeting with people in the industry, like collaborating especially. If you're going to move the tech industry like forward, you have to collaborate with people. Yeah. And also you have to know the technology. But aside from those two things, is there anything else that someone could do who's high up in their career to progress even further?
I mean, I feel that influence is the thing. I feel that like getting your message across 24/7, right? I think about like publishing a blog, publishing a talk is all about make your ideas work for you and share with as many people as you can. I feel there are a lot of leaders, especially senior leaders, that are in companies, big companies, and they share a lot there, but no one knows them outside, and the message is restricted, right? To either only their direct orgs or only inside the company Slacks and wikis. And I think like publishing publicly, right, opens up a lot, like LinkedIn, Twitter, blogs, YouTube. I think that's where I see a big opportunity to share ideas. But I would say there are also opportunity to mentor a lot of people's one-on-one. So what I usually do on Twitter is like someone is engaging a lot and is adding a lot of values on the discussions. We would start a DM and I have a Calendly where I send to that person and I get, hey, let's meet up in a week or 2 weeks. And I have like maybe 2 hours block allocated every week to just meet random people.
Amazing.
And that's been amazing. I have connected to, I think that's one of the perks of the pandemic, because you're able to connect and you don't need to be in the office all day long. So you can put something in your lunch hour, extend it a little bit, or right after work from 5 to 6, that commute hour, and you just have beers or coffee with someone else.
Yeah.
And you build an amazing like network outside your current company.
I think that's another really important aspect of technology. It's actually mentoring, isn't it? Especially if you're thinking about the younger generation getting into technology. It's really important that those senior leaders try and lift up that generation.
There are a lot of mentorship that happens inside companies, but there are constrained or restricted to making you evolve inside that company, right? The leaders are really protected, like in that way that, okay, I want you to see growing, but you're going to keep reporting to me, and like you cannot go outside the career ladder and all that. And I think the best mentors are the ones that they think bigger than your current job. They think, okay, you're going to be on this career for the next 40, 50 years. We are probably going to work together again at some point. And I don't mind if you go to another company and we are going to, and they don't see as like losing someone, right?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of leaders that I think they're good mentors, but they have that mentality of, oh, if I train you, you have to stay with me forever.
Yeah.
I think the best mentors are the ones that are like really long-term thinking. Really, like I have, for example, when I moved to New York 8 years back, I have the CTO that I helped to hire at the time, and he had that mentality. And we still do like once a year, we connect. I get feedback from him. Hey, look at this. I got this proposal. I have like last time that I had 3 offers on the table, I said to him, and he said, he said like more, man, you know what you want. Why are you asking me this? Because I was trying to polish the numbers. Oh, this number could be better. How should I negotiate? And he's, don't worry about numbers now. That's not the thing. You can optimize later. He's already really good. Why are you wasting time on that? And he's like, you have, after 10, 15 years in the industry, you have a lot of people that if things go badly, they're going to have a job for you at any time, right? So you have like almost a safety net there. But if you're stuck in the same company with the same group of people, if that company goes badly, then you are screwed. And if you only work with the same set of people, I think that's another problem. So on that article that I wrote about the 4 Ps of software engineering, right? I think one thing that I say is that you should change, not companies, you should change jobs every 3 to 5 years. And when I say change jobs, not companies, mean you can change your job inside the same company, or you can actually, let's say, do the same job in different companies. What's bad too, right?
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I'm a software engineer working with Java on backend on the, let's say, health industry. I can go from this company to another and do exactly the same thing, and you didn't evolve at all. And I think one of the 4 pillars is people, right? So if you're working with the same set of people for 10, 15, 20 years, even though you work in different companies, you're not evolving that dimension, because the people that you work with, you're gonna have a limit of how much you can learn from them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to change one of the 4 pillars, right? You have to change the platform, the product or the industry, and the process or the people that you work with. If you're not changing one of those 4 things, you're almost the same job. If you're keeping all the 4 pillars the same, that's going to be a problem.
Do you see a lot of people stuck in their ways?
Yeah.
That must be frustrating, because people can progress so much more if they just expanded their network and moved around a bit and just kind of, I think a lot of it is people stepping outside the comfort zone a little bit. It's so easy to stay in a job for X amount of years just because it's comfortable and you're getting an okay salary. But what's that? That's not a great career, is it? It might be good, but it's not amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It might be good for the next 5 years, but it's not good for the next 40 years. Who is going to be, and you like, okay, I see a lot of people that are working with iOS for the past 12 years, because that's how long, I don't know, 13 years, how long iOS been around. But will iOS be there 20 years from now?
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And like, I think you reach to a point in every single technology. There is the 80-20, the Pareto principle, that I think applies to a lot of things. And technology as well, and that's why you have to focus on fundamentals and not. Because I think after you're working, I don't know, you're working with mobile as an engineer for, let's say, 5 years. Okay, if you stay another 5 years, how much you're going to learn about all the implications of mobile versus moving to work with big data, for example. And then I think there is this illusion, and I think if you move to something else, you're going to lose all the skills that you build. Oh, if you are a back-end engineer and you move to be, I don't know, an engineer manager, for instance, you're never going to be able to be a back-end engineer yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's an illusion. And I think the people that lose those skills and are not able to move to technical roles after 5 years in management are not able because they did the fundamentals. They're just using whatever tools without understanding what was below the surface.
Yeah.
How did you know when it was right for your next move? Throughout your moves through companies, was there a common kind of feeling you got, or?
Great question. I would say the answer to that is like, when you are in a company and you know the cycle, the problem, like when the problems are going to appear, you already know the year. And like when you get to a point where it's January, okay, we're going to be in performance cycle, it's going to be a mess till February, then we're going to have this. When you see the same discussions happening again and again, and you have the deja vu, I think after maybe, let's say 4 or 5 years in the same company, you already know the trends, you already know the problems. See, if the same problems appear again and again, or you're already like too comfortable and you're already, okay, like you already know too much. You're already accepting the status quo. I think that's the time to move. And it's so easy to stay there because you're already hacking the system. You feel that you're hacking the system because when things happen, how to get away with things. And I think it's good after 2 years in a company, you have a lot of goodwill and a lot of, you know how to get things done. And you need to leverage that because a lot of people that are joining, they're not going to be able to get things done as fast as you can. But then after 4 to 5 years, you reach to a point where you're not using your intellectual abilities. You're just like, everything is automatic, right? It's like
Autopilot.
Autopilot, and you're not.
That part of your brain that kind of shuts off. You have to flex new muscles. It's like working out, the same thing over and over. Working out the same body part, doing the same exercises. You're gonna plateau where you need to exercise that extra muscle in your brain to turn back on when you need it to.
Yeah. But for me, it was more like that. It was like I was seeing that I'm bored. Like I'm not. Or I feel that the problems that I know that need to be fixed are not going to be easily fixed by me. And these are a structural problem. And it's okay, I learned how much I did a lot of things that I could change, but then there is a point like this, I can stay another 10 years and try to make a dent on those problems, but the 80-20 thing. Okay, I already did the 80-20 thing. Like, I can stay another 5 years to try to fix the top 10% or the 5% that I could not complete. But I feel it's better to learn again and leave that 5% because I'm not gonna learn much from that.
It does surprise me that there's engineers out there that do stick around in the same role for so long, because if you think about the mindset of an engineer, it's problem solving, it's like progression. You'd think that the majority of engineers would absolutely want to progress and move forward with the tech industry and move around. There's a lot that do that, but it just surprises me that there still is that bracket of people that are okay sitting in their comfort zone and not.
So I think that is an illusion that you're not in the comfort zone. So I would say all the engineers are studying and evolving. I think that's true. But the problem is that there are engineers that they have their identity attached to a particular platform and I think that's the problem, because as an Android engineer, I think with the amount of innovation that's happening on that space, with the amount of like open source projects, like Conference, like all that, you can be learning that forever. It's almost like you're not gonna have time on a day to read all the books, and there are always gonna be better ways of doing apps, and you can keep going deep there. And I think that's incredible, and I think we need few people that do that. But I think you get to a point again. I have this article that I read maybe 10 years ago from Scott Ambler called "Generalizing Specialists." It's like how to think about your career in tech, and he talks a lot about not only full stack, full cycle, right? Like not only knowing like mobile, like front end, back end, DevOps. But also knowing the cycle of, sales, marketing, like what is the cycle of the product? And you need project managers, you need QA, you need like all those things that are surrounding you. And also they don't know a lot about health, a lot about, I don't know, like fintech. You have to look at those things because as someone that works with technology, you are solving problems and trying to work around the ecosystem in like all shapes or forms. So it's like, what is the business domain? What part of the cycle it is of product development? In what part of the stack it is? And I feel that there are a lot of people that stay on one part of the stack, one part of the cycle. The development coding is only one part of the cycle, right? Yeah. There's a lot that comes to like how you break down a project, how do you evolve this after. There are a lot of people that stay really niched and they stay evolving, but the speed of evolution slows down after, if you are really, I would say after a couple of years in a really niche area, you have the illusion that you're still learning, but I feel you could learn so much more. If you look at the ecosystem, if you change stacks, but it's so hard because every time you change stack or you change, I'm an engineer, now I'm a manager, or now I'm like a analyst, or I'm sales engineer. It's a completely different job, and you're gonna be suffering for a year before you get that sense of productivity of you're getting things done, you're good at that, the mastery feeling. So easy to stay on the comfort zone and I'm killing here, I'm doing so great. But again, it's like the 80-20. You got the 80%, now the next 20% of that thing are not really easy to get, and you're gonna spend another 10-20 years to get to the 100% of knowledge of the full ecosystem or the particular technology.
So what are your thoughts on, because like this sounds all great in theory, but then you'll have a situation like where if you're, let's say, working on the front end, working with React for 6 years, and you say to yourself, okay, I want to work on the back end, I want to change the stack that I'm working on. A lot of times the employer, especially like where we're coming from as a recruiter, I'm speaking with an employer that's looking for a back end engineer, and they're like, that person's just been on the front end for 6 years. So how do you, I guess maybe a two-part question, what are your thoughts on that? And then how would you, as an engineer that is in that situation, go about marketing yourself into going into that back end?
Yeah, that's a really tough one because I would say, especially when you're talking to startups, they want someone that can come up to speed really quickly, already knows not only the part of stack, the technology they're using. Not only front end, you need to React and you need to know, I don't know, exactly the set of technology that you're using.
Absolutely.
And I think, okay, startups are optimizing for the short term. They have money that are burning every day. And I think startups are also one kind of company. So another dimension you have to consider over your career. And I'm speaking from the perspective of, let's say, an individual that is building that 40, 50-year career, right?
Sure.
You cannot only work in startups, you cannot only work in, let's say, freelancing, and you cannot only work in big techs. I think that's a problem. If you're only big techs for too long, you're also biased to that. So while startups think that and they require people that know the specific technology, you might get paid really well to join a startup if you know exactly the problem. Big techs or other companies, they care more about your experience and how much you're able to do. Of course, as an engineer, it's always easier to market yourself as like expert on a particular technology, and then you can join and you can be on that forever. But I would say as a career, that technology might die, or that technology might evolve, and then you're underwater. Or the other side, and what if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to build your own startup? If you only know front end,
right,
are you going to pay someone to do the back end and big data? So I think I look from that perspective of ownership, right? Do I understand the full business? But that's me. I want to try to at least have a idea of things and try to be able to move there. And I might not be the expert and might never be the expert in a particular sense, but I can get there and I can contribute by being like what they say, expert in breadth, not expert in depth. That's where I think we lack a lot of people that have that amplitude, that kind of like they're able to connect multiple things more than we lack the experts in one thing. And I would say if you have one expert and then you bring a lot of like full stack people, they can learn a lot and extract that knowledge from the experts. So you need a lot less experts than you need people that are able to move across, especially about the product. But okay, I would say that mentality of you need someone, I think it seems like when startups come to you guys and, we need a React Native people or React or whatever, and we need them because we have this project. Now they're really optimizing for the short term, and there's a short-term thinking cost. Because if you get someone that's an expert, but they are not a good fit behavior-wise, even though they can be the best fit for the first 3 months, after that it's going to go down. If you get someone that has the fundamentals of other platforms, let's say someone that's 5 years in the back end and they want to move to front end, they want to really learn front end, but they're gonna take the first 2-3 months to really getting used to that. But if they have the good fundamentals, it's like the first 3 months is downhill, but then after that is like upward. So I think but it's a problem if you only have 3 months of money to survive a startup.
Right, yeah.
Can you afford that ramp up,
exactly.
right?
So for startups that are well funded and have the runway, like that's something that they can do. Whereas a startup that just doesn't have that opportunity, they'll need somebody right away. But then you come to the challenge of, can we find that right person and in that time frame? So it's very tricky with startups and how they operate. And
yeah. I think startups is a different beast, but I would say it's almost they're trying to survive, and you need to be able to find professionals that have that expertise there, or that I think is different than if you're starting a startup today, you have not defined stack, and you bring a bunch of people that have a lot of expertise, they're going to figure out what stack to use and all that. You don't need to optimize for that knowledge, but if you already are deep committed and you need to add so many more features, and then makes sense to bring an expert. But do you need, say, 10 React people, or if you have 1-2 experts, can you bring more people to look at the full blown? Why do you need everybody to be an expert? That's a problem, right? Because I think if you have 1-2 experts, then you have a lot of people that are connectors. I would say, I think this startup is going to be much better. But it's something that is hard. It's easy for me to sell, but I never been a CTO of a small startup to be able to say, no, you need experts. And I think you need people that have some degree of knowledge on that technology, but that have that full stack, like T-shaped mentality. I think that's the best profile. Someone that has some knowledge, maybe not expert, but they're going to be able to ramp up, not in 3 months, but maybe in a month, but they really are able to learn other things too, right?
yeah, that's a great point. I feel like with startups, that's why sometimes it's more of an advantage to come in as like a mid-level candidate or a junior candidate
Yes.
because the expectations aren't there right away. Whereas the seniority and coming in as like a senior engineer, it's we expect this person to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Whereas
You knew it.
you're hiring a mid-level candidate and it's like, I know the fundamentals are there. We can shape them in this way to do what we're looking for. So it's a really interesting theory is like the further on you go. And that's why I like what you said earlier, where it's you have somebody that's an engineering manager and then it's almost like they don't, or they can't go back to that back end engineering role, but that's something that they should have the flexibility to be able to do.
And I think you knew it in the sense that if you are someone starting tech today, the best way to start is in startups because that's where they're gonna have the most need. And if you have expertise, so I think if you're a junior starting today, you have to look at what technology are startups using and build that expertise and put yourself as, okay, is Python the thing? Put like, I'm Python developer, even with 1 year and you put, and then because startups are the ones that are gonna not look at your experience before. Oh, do you have the knowledge? Are you able to do this? The job is yours. And that's how you get that experience. So I think it's a good starting point to really look at what are the startups using? How can I break into tech by being expert of that and market myself that way? But I think long-term is not sustainable to stay that because, okay, I can give you an example. I started my career 15 years ago in Brazil and Java was the thing. Like, okay, Java and like Oracle and Postgres and all that really, and web was the thing, right? And we use JBoss rich faces that I don't even know exist today. And if I had stayed with, okay, I'm an engineer, I only do Java, I'm not going to look at other things. I don't know if I would have a job today. I would say, yeah, Java is still relevant today, and there's still a lot of companies using it, but how many startups are using Java, right? Yeah. Big techs, yes, there are a lot of, but like Java is already a legacy technology today. And maybe I would not be unemployed, but I learned, like over the last 15 years, I learned Ruby on Rails, I learned Python, I learned big data, I learned mobile, Android, iOS, and now I'm over the last maybe 7 years, I'm surfing the wave of mobile because that's what's being like where I think I have the most leverage now because that's where the market's going. But 10 years ago, that would not be as interesting. When I was programming using the Java ME, that was the first version of software for mobile, that was not great. And not a lot of people would care about the old phones and how like used to the development of apps in the past.
In this day and age, there's frameworks all the time.
Exactly.
So how do you, if you were a junior developer, or say if you were looking to learn about technology and get into the industry, that's got to be pretty overwhelming to decide which tech stack to start with. What are some of the warning signs that they might just fade out eventually, or quickly even? Or is there any tech stack that is the one that is easiest to learn other languages from?
Yeah. Okay, I'm a big fan of learning fundamentals first.
Yeah.
And then you pick a technology that will help you to learn that fundamental. So, like for example, you need to learn source code control. Okay, Git is the technology that everybody uses to do version control today, right? It's not the only one. There is a lot of, you can use CS or Subversion or Mercurial. There are a lot of, but the fundamentals is, do you know how to use like a source code control system as an engineer? Same thing, okay, I need to learn functional programming. Okay, I can use Clojure, I can use Scala, but the fundamentals is how functional programming works. Yeah. I need to learn SQL, right? Yeah. Okay, like I can learn Postgres, MySQL, I can learn SQLite. It doesn't matter much if you're looking one kind of like one step further, right?
Yeah.
And there is a website that I like called roadmap.sh, I believe, where they put down, okay, if you want to be a back-end engineer, what is the roadmap of fundamentals with options of technology that you can pick to learn those? If you want to be a front-end engineer, okay, doesn't matter if you're using React, Angular, or I don't know, like Clojure script, whatever it is, it doesn't matter much. It does matter, of course. And you have to look at what's trending in the market, their ranks of, you can see there is this website that has a rank of the most used programming language over the last maybe 40 years. And you can see every year they publish a new top 10 language and it's trending up, it's trending down, and you have to look at those. But I think a lot of times is a bet and is a feeling that you as a programmer, you're a user of things, right? And same way you're a consumer of products. So, oh, do you like iPhone? Do you like Android? And you get that feeling. You have to try it out things, and you have to look at documentation, look at the GitHub project on like, the source code, and you have a feeling that seems really good. I like that. And then you have to do some assessment and go in that direction, but don't forget the fundamentals, I would say. Don't only look at the surface, go one step deeper, I would say.
Yeah. And then also, once you've decided that tech stack, nowadays there's so many different routes into technology. If you think about coding camps, and there's so many resources where people can learn about tech, essentially, which I think is like such an amazing thing. But is there anything that you would recommend to someone that's looking to get, once they've decided the tech stack, where would you point them? What direction? Would you say code camps are the best
Boot
thing?
camps.
Or
I
like university, or what's the strongest way?
Okay, I would say, I have a traditional background since I did computer science, all that, and I think one thing that computer science is good is that you get a really broad view of the ecosystem, the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
They get, how operational systems work, how compilers work, how object-oriented programming works, like you get like how data structures work, like, and you get a really broad view of the whole fundamentals. I think that's great, but a lot of people end up not having the skills of shipping things, of like making things out of the fundamentals, because they get so lost on the theory that they don't have, while on the bootcamp or the more like technical side course, they optimize for, you're gonna learn this tech. React, Node.js, and MySQL, and let's say Flutter. And we're gonna teach you how to build apps and all that, and you're gonna put like a framework, a structure for you to use. You just copy and paste and like how to navigate, but they don't go deeper on how things work, one level of abstraction below. But I would say the best way is probably a mix. Yeah. And I like the idea of not wasting time, quote unquote, like only learning the fundamentals, but I think you need to revisit that and you need to. So I like the idea of, I'm a big fan of what they call test-based learning, right?
Yeah.
You pick idea of someone close to you, they want an app for this thing. And you go and you learn as you need. Like say, I have this structure, or you need to do, integration with Google Drive. You go and say, how to do that? And you learn and consume resources and books as you need. Instead of that view, here's a curriculum, you need to go and read all those books, and then you're gonna, the opposite. It's like more like keep going on the direction that you need for that project, and you're gonna learn like a particular path, as if you're walking towards like a city. You're not gonna be able to know every single street of the entire city, but if you go from, let's say, Midtown to Harlem, you're gonna know Central Park. Central Park's there. And then you pick another project and you go from one side to another, and another set of technology. And over a year, 2 years, you're going to get exposure to a lot of things. And I think the best way to learn is try to build as many apps, as many websites, as many projects as you can. Small stuff, like a lot of small things. And don't get stuck on a big project early in your career. I think that especially at the beginning is important for you to do a lot of small things that use different technology, use the same technology in different ways. Because every single domain is going to push to different integrations, different optimizations of performance. And I think that's the best way to learn. And I think there are a lot of bootcamps that really are doing this perfectly, because they give only you the bare minimum knowledge, and then they put you to implement ideas. Like they make you like a developer entrepreneur. And they have tutors, they have people that are going to do pair programming with you to just put you in the direction. It is the opposite of like traditional computer science, where you learn a lot and then later you're going to see, what technology to use, where to use it. I think, but the best approach would be the mix of the two. Like you have things that you're doing and you also learning the fundamentals in parallel, and you have that broad and deep view as you need. But you don't go deep, I would say, you don't need to go as like super, super deep early, just deep enough to be able to solve the problem and then move on. Because I think even though you can always, let's say, you're going to be expert in database, you can get stuck learning all kinds of SQL, all kinds of things. I think you're going to get the most ROI by moving around and trying to connect the dots, I think.
I'm interested about what you two see on a daily basis. When people are, say, if they're like juniors or if you're looking through someone's CV, is it resume?
Yeah,
It's a resume. Is there any kind of common trend that you see of people getting into the industry? People seem to go to like boot camps, code camps, or is it degrees or
I think it's
a
interesting.
mixture?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're on different sides. Gabrielle's more contract, I'm more perm. So what's your, like, what are you seeing on contract?
I think what I'm taking from this, and I'm curious what you think about it, is hiring managers and engineering managers' perspective on candidates that come from boot camps rather than having a computer science degree. And I feel like a lot of these hiring managers have a negative maybe connotation to people that are self-learners, and I don't really know why, because a self-learner could be just as good as someone that has a computer science degree and vice versa.
Fully agree.
So what makes you attracted to a candidate or a resume?
Okay, on my side, I try to, you have to, as a hiring manager, someone that is growing projects, growing squads of people that work well together. I think your goal should be, how can I combine people with diverse backgrounds, with diverse set of skills, right? In a way that is almost like a Tetris game, that you're going to be able, if you look at every single skill set, right? Okay, front-end engineers, back-end, data, like, especially if you're working with the concept of you own the product, you own a particular feature set, right? You own that startup like ecosystem. You need to have people that have different perspectives, and I would say not only skill-wise, and I go back to your initial point, right? Not only different part of stacks, but also different parts of the cycle. And I think where people that come from boot camps like add a lot is that they bring like domain expertise or people skills that people from traditional computer science background don't have. And I say, especially if someone that has moved around, like, oh, it's been sales, marketing, and then like join tech, that person is going to be like a connector, and it's going to be allow people to see different perspectives. Even though they might not know all the fundamentals, there are people inside that are going to be able to mentor them, or to over time they're going to learn. So I think the point that a lot of hiring managers is that that person is not going to be adding value in the traditional way. They're going to be adding value in the other way, and you need to be able to have a network of support, to like almost a safety net of people that have also those more traditional backgrounds to be able to add. And it's like they learn from those people and they also teach. And I think, again, the short-term thinking is another problem.
Right.
It's like people usually think, oh, if this person doesn't have computer science and doesn't know this particular technology, they're going to take way too long to ramp up. And I don't have that money. I don't have that time. I don't have that. But that's a problem. That's a big problem. So I would say is a lot of education that's needed with those hiring managers and I think there is a lot of people that have seen people coming from bootcamp that were not great, or that did something wrong, and they blame the bootcamp. Oh, you're missing the computer science. You don't know a thing about scalability. You don't know. And again, it's like going back to the same part. Like, they might not know a lot about scalability, distributed systems, but they are adding values and they're bringing skills in a different way. And that's what you need to take. It's like everyone will bring a different shape of skills and things, and that's how you need to think about it. And if you're only optimizing for the short term, like, you're never gonna give the opportunity to someone to move into breaking stack and to grow. But if you're looking for 40, 50 years, then that makes a lot of sense.
How do you think we change that mindset from hiring managers thinking about short term, especially we're talking about startups, and they have a lot on the line? So
yeah, startups is hard. There's a lot of preconceptions, right, in terms of these things that is hard to change, especially when you have a deadline and if you're under pressure, and it is so much to try to find people like you, right? And I think if you are someone that did computer science, you had those experiences, you want to find more people like you, and that tends to be people with the same gender, all those traits. It's a hard thing for startups, because at the same time, startups are trying to survive, and they need to put something out there, and those people don't even have I don't know if it's the time, the energy, or is a really hard thing to change. I really don't know how you can. I think it's like you can put up resources, you can look at different problems they're facing and try to sell how those people can help. But they like producing code or writing software is not the only way that a startup can survive. There are a lot of other like problems you can solve not writing software, right? Like maybe doing some integrations or maybe reusing stuff. I don't know, but that's a tough one.
I think I have like somewhat of an answer from it. I think it mostly, at least on the permanent side, I think it stems from the interview process and like how they're screening candidates. Because for the most part, like when I'm working with, I obviously work with a lot of different startups, and some startups I see like, and I'll see it and they'll see it. It's like they only have success on the interview process when it's a candidate that comes from a computer science background because of the algorithms and the algorithmic based technical interview.
Yeah.
But we have other startups where it's not algorithmic based and it's more maybe like a whiteboarding or a paired, and they'll see more success from both ends and the coding academies and the boot camps because it's not based on the algorithms. So I think by changing the way that these companies do their interviewing, you'll see more success come from people that are working at a boot camp, because at the end of the day, like you said before, it's like, oh, we've seen, let's say you send over 5 candidates that are all from boot camps and they don't do well in the interview process, and then only one candidate does well from a computer science degree, automatically that person is ready to think, hey, this is, okay, we need computer science people. Whereas and especially with what I've seen and what I've heard, and I'm not the most talented, I don't know anything technically, but what I see is like the technical interviews are almost harder than the day-to-day work that the person's going to be doing. So you're basing them on something that's more difficult than what they're actually going to be doing in the job.
I fully agree. I think, okay, 2 things there. So going back to the point that you need to reverse perspectives in many ways to build a really successful team that is going to create products that are going to grow beside. I think if you're trying to build a team of people that are just trying to ship something and then move on, like almost a freelancing, it's easier to bring people that have exactly the same fundamentals and put together, because they're probably going to be able to align sooner and ship sooner. But if you're trying to optimize for the long term as a startup and build something that is going to be successful for a while, and you're not going to be able, you're going to need to rewrite every 2 years, then bringing people with diverse backgrounds from boot camps and you need both.
Right,
exactly.
You need people with traditional deep fundamentals that are going to push from one side, and you need people with boot camp experience, domain knowledge, and others, they're going to push it to another side. And I think the interview process, it needs to be customized for those different perspectives and skill sets. Sure. Yeah. And also, I think the most important is, I think the interview process should reflect what you need on the day-to-day. Okay, what is the work? And it's not what is the work that I wish every software engineer in my team would be doing, but more, what is the kind of like the different skills that we need here? And who can teach and who can learn? And then look at like, how can I make the interview process and like almost rank those skills? Okay, I need front end, I need back end, I need data. But data is the most important. And I need someone that's able to talk to sales and maybe talk to clients and do integrations and do documentation things. It's almost you rank those skills that you actually need. And you say, okay, how can we assess if this person is going to be good at, I don't know, doing data integrations? Right. Give a data integration problem. And don't try to do a whiteboarding interview. That's something that everybody knows. It sucks. It's not good for people from traditional background and not even for bootcamp backgrounds. And you need to design the process to reflect reality on the day-to-day. Yeah. And I think it's like, what is the challenge you're facing and how can you represent, like ask this person to show what they would do or how they would react to those challenges. Like we will be using binary trees and graphs, and is that the job? Are you writing a brand new database engine? If that's the case, then you need people. You need to do all the data structure. You need to know the big O. But are you building a web or mobile app? Like how much of the day-to-day? I know data structures are important, and over time you need to optimize, you need to understand it, because if you don't, you're going to be wasting a lot of resources. But let's pick a traditional startup. Is it going to make a big difference if you you're using pre-built data structure 99.9% of the time. You're not, and all the libraries, all the things that you do on the UI, they come with pre-baked things. So especially the first year of startup is integrating things and is connecting those things, not really building like data structures and really being the Googles of the world. It's like pretty much basic software that you don't even need to be super optimal about. And if you survive, you can then invest on training people to optimize those things. But I think sometimes there is a illusion of being like everyone, we are optimizing every single step and not saying, no, our goal is to ship, to have something functional, even if you're wasting resources or even if you're going a little bit off here and there. But I think you need people that are able to see the big picture and to push, oh, you're really off here. That's not going to fly. So you need a mix. You need people with experience, and need people with computer science, and need bootcamp, and even people that are not writing software. They're just like being the users. They're representing the external perspective. I think. But if you're just trying to be a feature factor, I think the easy way is to hire people that know the technology, that know the fundamentals, that can come in and do and move on. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it was what Neil said before, the sum is greater than its parts, or have that sort of debate where you're having so many people, different experiences, be able to build something out. That'll just set you up for the most success.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think as well, companies have to be better these days, bringing in people with less experience with the mindset that they're going to teach them and train them. Especially if you think about diversity, taking young, diverse people, bringing them into the industry or the business, with the mindset that they're going to be there in 5 to 6 years' time. And
I have seen people from bootcamps in a year, like kicking ass and like being much better than seniors with 10 years of experience.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah, I have seen, so at my time at Amex, we had a lot of people from bootcamps, and there were a few folks there that they put a lot of energy and they learn in a year because it's all about the behavior, right? It's like how they would put a lot of energy into that. They would put weekends extra. They would ask for mentorship, and they were like promoted to senior. Imagine someone that joined from a boot camp being promoted to senior after maybe less than 3 years.
Oh my God.
And I have seen a lot of those folks. So yeah, there is the bad side. There may be folks that are going to get stuck, and they're probably going to need to go back to computer science and learn the fundamentals because they're really not. But there are people that are able to leverage a lot of their pre-existing knowledge in other industries and really I think if you're a good learner, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so it's a bet. I would say it is a bet. It's a big bet. And you can't hire someone that looks amazing on resume, right? That has the experience, that is just not is gonna be a douchebag, and he's gonna actually move the team down. Because the other side of the equation as engineering manager that you see a lot is you bring someone with 15, 20 years of experience, and they're so nitpicky about things that they block everyone to go to do anything in a meeting. Oh, we're discussing this. Oh, this is not optimal. We cannot use that. They keep pushing to research and blocking things like the pull request. Those are the folks that keep they stay 2-3 hours every day blocking folks and saying, this is wrong, don't do this. But they never go the next step of saying, okay, this is wrong. Let's do some pairing. I will show you, use this instead. Here's how you do. So there is a big risk into that too, right? There's so many factors you can control. So it's an illusion that, because that person has been in tech for the last 10 years and know that particular technology, they're going to help the team to be successful. On the other side, you might pick someone that doesn't have a lot of computer science knowledge, but is amazing facilitator. And that person can drive meetings and help to solve conflicts and be the catalyst of change inside the team. So that's why you need a mix of those profiles. And that's why I say it's not only one thing. It's the skills that are needed are much broader than computer science. You need people skills, you need business skills, you need. So that's every single person that you bring, you change the dynamic of the team. And it might change for the better or for the worse.
Interesting. I think it's funny how this whole conversation kind of came full circle from us looking at your tweet and then going into how somebody who's putting in that extra work is advancing, even though they're from a boot camp in 3 years to a senior. It's just funny how this whole conversation is kind of making an observation.
Yeah. It's probably about time you wrapped up because you must be such a busy guy. Even though you're like the most laid back guy, you must have others to be getting on with. But to wrap up, actually, can we get your Twitter handles on air? If you could just
Yeah,
say
of
what
course.
they are and-
Yeah, my Twitter handle is Thiago Gizzi, Thiago. Gizzi isGhisi. And I have been tweeting a lot about career in tech, about how to succeed in interview processes for the big techs as engineering leader, I would say, and a lot about like lean, agile, a lot of things around like about distributed systems, web service, like more architecture stuff. I love those. I love talking about how to collaborate with product, how to break down projects, like how to like pair programming, how the whole thing about. I talk about many things, but I would say career, leadership, and some specific parts of the stack that I like, that I have some experience on.
Cool.
Thank
you.
It was great.
That was a really nice roundtable. I thought.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
It was great.
Excellent. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.